Have you ever wanted to do something like this? Or maybe this? What about this? Or this? Or maybe even this? Today I want to teach you off-center spinning of just about anything that's flat. Like it could be a tray, it could be a book, it even could be a kid's swimming pool. A lot of people call this padiddling, I call it cool, and this is a creative life skill. Let's do it. Creative life skills will help you be creative if you do them. Creative life skills will make you a more interesting human.
Oh, yeah. Good boy.
Up. Just some quick backstory. I learned how to do this when I was a bellhop in a hotel as a teenager. And I had people who would actually give me tips because I would walk up and down the hallways spinning a tray. So actually this does have a practical application. You can get better tips. You can make a little bit of money just by doing something interesting that other people aren't doing. So this called attention and some people were just willing to throw money at this. So anyways, let's learn this, the off-center spin of any flat object. So this is the tray that I spin the most. This is the tray that I take with me to my magic shows and juggling shows. This has been with me forever, and I really like spinning this thing, but this is not what we're going to be learning on. I want to make this way easier. It is best not to learn using a tray or a book or whatever. Here's the best thing. You want a flat pillow. You want something that has sort of a square shape that is going to be a little bit, you know, it has a little bit of flop to it. This is the best way to learn this. I'm not kidding. I don't know why anybody would want to teach this actually using some hard object. If you learn the mechanics on something floppy like this, learning how to do it with a book or a tray is going to be 100% easier. You can go to a thrift store and get this kind of stuff really easily, or you can go to grandma's. You just want something that's got a little bit of flop to it. Why is a little bit of flop good? Because what it does is it lowers the center of gravity on the outside. In a way, like if I, you can sort of see under here, I'm actually creating a little bit of a cone, right? I'm pushing the center up, and the outside edges are lower than my finger. This is great. You want a lower center of gravity when you're spinning. Okay, so how do we start? First thing you want to do is find the center of the pillow. You know, you can just sort of balance the pillow kind of like this, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't. This is very forgiving. Pillows are a great thing to learn on. The flop is going to help you. Okay, now I like to do it spinning this away. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the corner and I'm pulling it towards me. Okay, now I'm not even doing anything with my right hand yet, or whatever dominant hand you have. I'm right-handed, so I'll be doing it with my right hand. So if I have this, I'm just finding kind of the center of the pillow, and now I am just taking a corner and I'm pulling it towards me. I'm just letting this do nothing. I'm basically letting the pillow spin itself, because since it's kind of conical under here, you know, since you've got the center going up, since you've got the center going upwards, it'll kind of just spin. You just want to get used to this. Do this 100 times or until you're feeling really comfortable. Okay, so again, right now, my right hand isn't doing anything. So you're just taking this and pulling it towards you and letting it spin. What tends to happen is that you find that your hand will get dragged one way or another because you're probably not perfectly centered. That's great. You want then your hand to sort of naturally follow where it's being pulled. Okay, so if right now I'm pulling it, oh, I feel like it's off center now. Now I can kind of let my hand follow the pillow. And after a while, you are going to be so surprised how quickly this can happen. Now I'm not saying you're going to be able to do this, you know, the first day, but if you do this after a few days, you're going to feel that, oh, it's kind of making my hand move with it. If it does that, go with it. Just start moving your hand in the circle. You're going to get sort of a feel for where that, oh, so right now it's not happening. My hand isn't doing anything. So you do it again. Oh, there, I'm off center. And so I'm able to move it. Now I move my hand to sort of follow what the pillow's doing. And now I am in control. So what happens is it moves from the pillow control to your hand being in control. You're just sort of switching the emphasis. So the pillow sort of determines how you start. And then you start following the pillow. And after a while, the pillow starts following you. You get to do what you want with it. Now, as you get a feel for this, you start getting a feel for when to make adjustments. Right now, I don't have to make any adjustments really because I'm just basically staying in the same place on the pillow, just slightly off center. But every so often, I might have to make a quick correction, or I have to move my finger. You can sort of feel your finger kind of moving directions or moving over on the pillow. That's good. Whatever it takes to kind of keep the whole thing spinning, that's how it's going to work on a tray or on a book too. But anyways, get used to this. Do this for days. There's no rush. Creative things take some time. Everything takes practice. If you feel like you're wearing out one side of your pillow, flip it over and go to the other side. Once you get comfortable with this, once this is where you're comfortable with the off-center spin, and you can tell it's off-center, anytime you're spinning something and your hand is doing this, that's an off-center spin, okay? If you're spinning something and your finger stays in the same place, obviously that's a center spin. That's how we spin basketballs. But for padiddling, off-center spinning, you're gonna be moving your finger around just like this. Okay, so then once you're comfortable with the pillow, you can move over to the tray. Now again, this is my favorite tray. I've had this for a long time. And so I take this with me to shows. It used to be that I would lick my finger and spin it because I would always start spinning it like this. And I would do this in my juggling act where I was like juggling rings with this hand or something, spinning a ball on a mouth stick, whatever. We're not going to worry about that today, but you can sort of see on mine, there is like a little bit of rust there. I have taken some steel wool to this and sort of gotten rid of that rust. And another thing that I like to do, just to give this a little bit of tack, I tend to have pretty dry fingertips. Sometimes I will go to my home store and get a tack cloth. That's basically just a cloth that it has tree sap basically in it. And I'll just rub that on there just to give it a little bit of stick. But you know, whatever works for you. But now I've got my tray, but I'm gonna do this. Wink. Okay, we are flipping it over. I want you to start spinning it on this. Why? Because just like the pillow, if you spin a tray upside down, you have a lower center of gravity on the edges again. This helps you. This makes things go easier. So it's the same thing. You're starting like with your hand out towards the, away from you, and now you're going to pull it towards you. You're just doing the same thing, and kind of let the thing be your guide. Oh, and then here's what happens for me is I have this off center. It's about an inch from the center. Wherever the center is, I'm within an inch of it, okay? So I find the basic center, and I start spinning it, and after a while, you just, because you've had practice with the pillow, you can kind of feel where the off-center point that you want will be. But if you have this thing upside down, the edges are going to be lower. It's always easier when the edges are lower than your finger. Okay, let's quickly talk about which finger to use. I switch off. I tend to use, perhaps, I learned this with my middle finger. Now here's the thing, if you're a performer, you don't want to be flipping your audience off when you're doing a trick like this. So I started learning it with my index finger. I think the index finger looks classier, it looks nicer, and now I'm just as I mess it up. And now I feel like I'm just as comfortable using the index finger as well. So anyways, now you're gonna, so this is phase 2. You wanna get used to a tray and put the edges down. Okay, so let's flip it over. So once you get used to that, and this might not take any time, really, it depends on your coordination level and how much you like to practice, and everybody comes at this at a different pace. Not to worry, everybody is different. I am a very slow practicer, but I'm a diligent practicer. I'm the kind of person who just sort of keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. You know, you just get used to practicing. Practicing is key. So, okay, but now we're gonna try it on the backside. This really isn't too different, but I can feel that the center of gravity is higher. However, it just feels neater. When you've got the edges of the tray facing upward, suddenly now it feels like you're actually doing a trick. It seems like, man, I remember when I first started doing this, I was kind of like, wow, this is kind of unbelievable. I'm doing it. I'm really doing this. And what's so fun is you can walk around, you can talk. You do this by feel. So I am not even looking. I'm not looking at the tray at all because I can feel it. This is one of those spinning things that you don't have to look at. You're doing it all by feel. As you become more and more comfortable with this, you just get used to the feel of it. Okay, so phase 1, the pillow. Phase 2, the tray upside down. Phase 3, turn the tray over and then spin it on the bottom side. Phase 4 is a book, okay? You want a book that's maybe about this size. This is just a good children's book, but hardcover is great. However, let me just say, if you have a softcover book that is glossy, that is about this size, those are even easier. But if you want to be impressive, one of the most impressive things you can do is just grab a book off of a table in front of whomever, and then all of a sudden start spinning it. You know, if you can just do this, people are like, whoa, that's interesting. Interesting guy in the room, whatever. So you are going to look for a book like this. This book is about a 1/2 inch thick, maybe a little less. It's sort of a picture book. It doesn't have, it's almost a pop-up book. But you know, just something that's not super thick. We'll move on to the super thick books later, but the big fat books like this are great to start with. And then it's just the same thing. Now you don't have the advantage of having a rim that you can have a lower center of gravity on this. The center of gravity is going to be above your finger, so that always makes it just a teensy bit difficult, but you already did it with the tray, so you can do it with the book. Same thing, I start with my corner out here and I pull it towards me. You can actually sort of hear it. See, and if you can hear it like that, if people hear that, then they know, you know, their eyes don't deceive them because they can actually hear it happening too. So you get to spin it off center on a book like this too. And again, too, I can talk to the camera. I don't have to look at it. It can be way out of my sight because I'm doing it all by feel. Another thing that's kind of fun is you can take a pencil eraser, like an eraser on the end of a pencil, and you can spin them on this too. So this is a fun thing. If you're just sort of walking down the hall and you're spinning a book on top of a pencil like this. I mean, who does this? This is just fun stuff to try. Then probably the most advanced thing is finding a thick book. Now this is 6 by Seuss. It's a big fat Dr. Seuss book. This one's about 1 inch thick. Also, it's smaller. It's smaller than the book I used at first. When you're spinning something smaller, it's always harder. Okay, so if you can actually find books that are bigger, it's easier. But this is a very spinnable book. And you just, it's the same thing. So again, too, you're doing this in steps, phases. Phase 1 is the pillow. Phase 2 is the tray upside down. Phase 3 is the tray. And then, you know, now you're working on to hardcover books. Those are phase 4. So anyways, these are all the things you can try. Okay, but what about the swimming pool? Okay, swimming pools are weird because it's kind of like doing this in slow motion. And you can get as big of a pool as you want, you really could. But let's take a look at what you need to do in order to spin a swimming pool. Okay, the swimming pool. Swimming pools are slow. So you're basically making real slow circles because these things sort of catch the air. They have sort of a wind drag on them. But at least this particular swimming pool has a label. I don't know if you can see that. And I know that my finger is going to be somewhere off center of this square. So this rectangle is in the center. So I'm putting my finger somewhere in here. I'm putting my finger not on the center. I'm putting it towards the edge of that rectangle that I showed you. And I get it spinning the same direction as I always do. And again, too, now I'm doing it by feel. I don't really have to look at it. I can do a little bit of a launch, keep it spinning. And in a sense, doing a pool is almost easier than a tray because everything is sort of like super slow motion. So anyway, swimming pool. Up, speak. Hey, if you got something out of this, and this was maybe new information that you never had, I hope that you will give this video a like. My name's Pete, you're watching It's a Creative Life, and I will see you in the next video. Boom. No!